to Housing Talk with Sheronica Outlaw and John Ferreira. I'm your host, Sheronica Outlaw with Berkshire Hathaway. I service the Hudson Valley and all of New York area. Now, John, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, John Ferrara here with ASAP Mortgage, providing the most competitive, personalized mortgage experience for my buyers and homeowners for over 2 decades in New York, Florida, and Connecticut. And buying a home is probably one of the most important investments you'll make in a lifetime. And we're here to educate you and help you make some sound decisions, whether it's for personal or investment purposes.
Thanks a lot, John. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
This is our fourth and last session of the top 20 questions people wish they asked before purchasing a home. What is an escrow account, John?
Yeah, so an escrow account is where the lender establishes um, the property taxes, the homeowner's insurance, along with your principal and interest, a reserve account, so that when the bills come due, the servicer will pay those bills. It's to protect everyone, give a little cushion. It's kind of like a security blanket, so that you don't become delinquent on any tax bills or homeowners insurance in the future.
Okay, so the tax bills and things aren't going to go to the consumer. They're going to come out of the escrow account. Is that what you're explaining?
Correct. So the bills will go to the mortgage servicer. We established the escrow account, uh, you know, at the time of closing. And then when those bills come due, the mortgage servicer will pay the homeowner's insurance and the tax bills. And then the homeowner will get record of that, um, and year to end statements.
Okay, phenomenal. Now, what happens when I apply for a loan? What happens that and if that were to happen?
So when a consumer applies for a mortgage, I'm collecting all the pertinent information that I need to qualify them. I send them a list of documents, W-2s, pay stubs, driver's licenses, bank statements, in some cases, tax returns. I'm collecting all this stuff in the initial stages, to put everything into underwriting. Once the loan gets into underwriting, we also have to order an appraisal for the property, make sure the value's there, there's no adverse conditions. The buyer's attorney will also order the title to make sure there's no liens, judgments, open permits, or any violations against the property. So once all this stuff has been collected, reviewed, and signed off by our underwriting, we get our uh, buyers to what's called a clear to close status. And then once the
Okay.
clear to close has been issued, those are our favorite three letters, by the way. Uh, Once those clear to close have been issued, then we can schedule the closing with their attorneys. We
Okay.
see what's a good day, time, place for everyone mutually.
Okay. Now, are there any discrepancies before, let's say, if something happens? They now underwriters are responsible for approving the deal. Is that how it works?
Correct. Our underwriters work for the lenders,
Hmm.
and they make sure that everything fits the box for whether it's a conventional FHA, VA. They check all the boxes, make sure everything fits, and then
Okay.
they approve the loan.
Okay, great. Now, being that they have all these responsibilities, what responsibilities do I have during the lending process?
So that's a very good question. There's a lot, when I meet with a client initially, I give them some helpful information and pointers of what to do and what not to do during the mortgage process. Um, Things that you don't want to do, there's things that can affect the approval, midstream. So you don't want to go, quitting your job. You don't want to go taking on any other debt like cars or boats. Um, don't open up any other credit cards. you want to kind of stay off the radar. And it's very important because if you have a borrower who has, marginal credit, maybe the credit scores are just over the qualifying threshold, or they have high debt ratio,
Okay.
that could, these things can affect and even deny a borrower halfway through the process. So, you want to kind of stay off the radar. And I always tell my clients, if you have to do anything, we know life happens. Just give me a call and we can talk about it, look at the numbers, see if it's going to affect anything. And if it doesn't, they can do what they need to do.
Okay. Now, I came from the sales industry. I've been in the industry such a long time, and I've had so many people that come to me during the process of purchasing a home,
Hmm.
and I don't know what's going on, whether it's the mortgage person or
Yeah.
maybe they didn't understand the process, but they come to me still wanting to purchase a car, furniture, etc. And on my part, it's very complicated because I know that they're not supposed to be purchasing, or I don't know if you gave them permission to purchase. So what is a person supposed to do on that part? Are we supposed to still continue on with the process? It's because we don't want to hurt the consumer at the same time. So,
Right.
sometimes what I say to them, are you okay to purchase now? And a lot of times they don't even know this.
Well, I mean, technically, like I said, when you're staying off the radar, you shouldn't do anything prior to the closing. But I've had instances where, I have a client where their car broke down and, it just died and they had to buy a new car. So we
Right.
have to strategically figure out, is it going to be okay to take on that new debt? What's the monthly payment going to be?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have a credit inquiry. So what does their credit scores look like? Do the credit scores, do they have high credit scores where it may not even matter? So these are all the things to take into consideration. And then at the end of the day, if they absolutely have to do it, they're still taking the risk and they have to make the decision if, if they need to do it or not.
It may have to start the process all over again, or may not even qualify. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, it may not even affect them and it's business as usual on the loan, or if if it is a detriment, then I always tell them if they can absolutely wait till after the closing, then that's what I would recommend.
Okay. All right. Great.
Now I got a question for you, Sheronica,
What's that, John?
because I know right before our closing, I know the realtors and you yourself, you guys have to take the client, the buyer, to a final walkthrough, which is usually scheduled the day of, usually in the morning or pretty close to the closing. What are some of the things that we need to look for during that walkthrough?
Well, my recommendation would be always do the walkthrough the day before. And the reason being is because, people's lives are so busy. And if you
Yeah,
wait for the last minute, unfortunately, you may be running into your closing time and you don't want to be late. So, my opinion would be to schedule it the day before. And when you're at the walkthrough, just make sure that the previous clients or their things or their belongings are out the house. Make sure, especially being that we're dealing with contracts. Let's say, for instance, if there were supposed to be a railing installed or what have you. Now, I would definitely suggest that you check for all the things that were supposed to be installed during the time. And if they weren't installed at that time, this is the perfect opportunity for you to let them know now before you go
yeah,
into the closing so that we can rectify the situation.
makes sense.
Also, you want to make sure that all the doors are good. And especially, what, sometimes, and hopefully it does happen. Let's say if there's a rainstorm, this is a perfect opportunity for you to go in to see if there's any type of damage, watermarks, or anything like that. Check the cracking, check check all those areas. And
Yeah,
you want to make sure that everything is clear and ready for the next person to move in. So moving ready.
sure. Yeah, you get a heavy rainfall. Make sure the roof's not leaking. There could be
Absolutely.
water in the basement. I mean, I know some houses that never took on water, and you have
Mhm.
a heavy rainfall, and it could. So it's good to check all that stuff right before, making sure
Absolutely.
everything in the contract is what they say. They promised, the sellers promised the buyers what they were going to take care of, and yeah, because remember, after you sign those papers, it's all yours, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you sign the contracts, like anything else, it belongs to you.
That's right.
Now, Joe, what could I expect to happen at on the closing day? What happens during that time?
Yeah, so the closing day, I prepare my buyers or my homeowners if it's a refinance. We make sure that their homeowners insurance is paid in full for the year, and they want to bring the invoice. So most of the time we collect it before the closing, but we want to make sure
Okay.
that they have that. Their attorney will call them with closing instructions. So they'll tell them what kind of certified checks to bring. Um, you always have your driver's licenses that are non-expired with you at the closing. That's very important. Make sure you come to the closing on time. You're going to be signing a lot of paperwork. Some of the paperwork is going to be the same application paperwork that you signed in the beginning. However, you're going to have now the note, the deed, the mortgage, everything. Those are the final paperwork for your mortgage. So
Right.
that will be different. And you usually have in New York, you have the sellers, the buyers, their attorneys, the real estate agents. I try to attend every closing that I can. It's something that I've done. I prided myself from, when my initially in my career. It's just sealing the deal. If any problems arise, I'm right there for my clients. Um, so you'll sign all the paperwork. As long as everything looks good, you'll grab your keys and you'll go home and enjoy your new house.
Yeah, you've been referencing a lot of paperwork, and then they're going to have to start all over again from beginning with regards to more paperwork. So, how long would you say this process lasts?
I mean, a typical closing, if everything goes well, um, 45 minutes to an hour is a good closing in and out.
Okay, now what if something goes wrong? What happens then? Is it then rescheduled for another day? What happens during that time?
Well, that depends on there are a few things that can hold up. Remember, it's real estate and there's a lot of things out of everyone's control.
Absolutely. That's right.
One is if they found something at the walkthrough, how are they going to remedy it? Are they going to, sometimes if it's a minor thing, for example, I've had situations where the sellers left boxes and garbage maybe in the garage. So the attorneys will hold some money in escrow, maybe a couple $100 in escrow till it's
Okay.
completed. Then they'll release the money to the seller's agent. Um, but typically, sometimes the wire from the mortgage, it's got to go through a federal process, and there's actually a Fed reference number. Sometimes the wire can get held up a few hours. Again, that's out of everyone's control.
When you,
So
when
there
you
are things that can come up, and but everybody's trying to make it, rectify it as fast as possible.
now, when you speak about wiring, are you speaking about my money being transferred over? Is that what you're referring
Correct. The mortgage money that's being sent to the sellers for the buyers, whatever net proceeds have to be taken care of, that's coming through a wire. So if that wire gets held up, which it could sometimes, there's no rhyme or reason.
to? Okay.
Sometimes a last name could trigger the wire being held up, or and sometimes it just takes a little longer. So, but once that's taken care of, and I'm always on top of that, I make sure that I put my underwriting if there's an issue.
Great, John. I understand it now. Thanks for the response.
Absolutely.
Anytime. Well, this concludes the fourth and last part of the top 20 questions people wish they asked before buying a home. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And please turn on your post notifications for new videos every week with Housing Talk with Sheronica and John.
Yeah. Thank you guys. This has been great. We hope that we can give you guys some great information to make some educated decisions when buying a home. We're always here for you guys, and stay tuned for our next session where we'll have a different topic, and we're actually going to be bringing in some other professionals in the real estate industry, almost like a panel. So we'll be asking them some questions and hear from some other experts.
Thanks a lot, John. So we're going to be bringing in appraisers, all kind of people. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Thanks a lot, John. I really appreciate it, and have a
Thanks, Sheronica. It's always
anytime.
a lot of fun.
Always, John. Until next week.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
You got it.
All right.